Game 365 podcast in the building with Stacking Kicks. Lloyd Center, how you doing, bro?
Man, I'm good, bro. What's up with it?
Man, it's good to see you again, man. You know, official interview. We locked in. We're going to make this one more powerful and better. So let everybody know where you from and, you know, where you was raised at.
Oh, man, I was born in Los Angeles, raised in Northeast Portland, man. You know, so I'm definitely a Northeast native off top.
Yeah, for sure. How was it growing up in Portland, Oregon?
It was different, man. You know, we got a small black population, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I think coming up out of just, just coming up out of a little bit of, you know, I think racism, a little inequality, lack of education from, you know, our generations before us, you know, especially in a place that don't have a black structure. I think that was complicated for a lot of black men and women, you know, coming up out of a space like this, for sure.
Do you think that that's a reason why a lot of our people don't make it up out into entrepreneurship, into college, into really being in a corporate America because they're products of their environment to the point that it's kind of holding them down and they don't know nothing else?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was structured like that, you know, and again, in a state like Oregon, especially Oregon, where they weren't even allowed to have slaves even here. You know, I think they prevented a lot of black evolution, you know, institutions, you know, encouragement, support systems and things like that we probably could have used to get more in alignment, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, so basically, if you're from here, the city ain't gonna give you nothing. Everything that you get, you gotta take it, you know what I mean? If you take what they give you, you're gonna be a struggling, you know, African American out here for sure.
Okay, let's go back to childhood. So, you know, being that, you know, you have a love and a passion for, you know, apparel, you know, in general,
Right.
did you kind of like come off the porch with a style, with swag, with fashion, or how did you kind of like transition into wanting to, you know, be involved with merchandise, clothes, shoes, just etc. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, I think at a time when I was younger and didn't have a lot of inspiration, I found that a lot of my connection to the world came from the way that I put outfits together, you know. And, you know, those are the things that brought me energy, I feel like brought me meaning, helped make me feel important for the moment, you know, when you get all the, ooh, them is tight, or that's a dope fit you got on. I got a lot of that growing up because I was very strategic how I placed different pieces together, and sometimes pieces that wasn't supposed to even be together because I was pulling from different areas, so nobody would literally be dressing just like me. And so I had a mind for it, bro, and it really made me feel important and special, you know, and building a brand, and I wanted to share that energy with the people coming behind me.
Yeah. So being though that you took fashion and you merged it together with, you know, entrepreneurship, you know, as a kid, did you have a Kool-Aid stand, a lemonade stand? Did you sell candy? You know what I'm saying? You know, what, a paper route? You know what I'm saying?
I'm laughing because it ain't nothing I ain't sold, but yeah, bro, getting started, man. I remember I hauled newspaper with my uncle when I was, you know, 10, 11 years old. I got Domino's Pizza to pay me to drop flyers on doors when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
You know, definitely being from the streets, I even dabbled in selling dope and, you know, buying double up and trying to figure out how to make money that way because that was a normal thing where I come from. And then again, growing up, I started selling clothes. I opened up a spaghetti food cart. I started selling different shoes and clothes out the trunk. I was selling workout systems. I sold watches. I sold earrings. I sold jewelry. I sold cars at one point, bro. Like I really had a knack for buying and selling, and I was cool with being patient, which is a key in entrepreneurship.
So is there a misunderstanding that the black community has with transitioning from the street to the corporate world that people feel that they can't get involved with because they don't have no understanding? But people don't realize, like Tyler Perry said, if you can sell drugs, then you can sell, you know what I'm saying, in a company. If you can, you know, market your illegal activity, then you can market it in the Fortune 500 company. If you can network, you know, in the streets, then you can network in the corporate world. So, you know, trying to tell, you know, saying the black community, you know, around the world that, you know, you can do this and make some things happen. You feel me?
Yeah. And what we're talking about here is vision, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
it's so easy to sell dope and weed and sex and everything else is because that's what we see most of. As normal human beings,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
typically gravitate to what you see. But to be a genius, to be an innovator, to be a pioneer, to be a trendsetter, you have to create things that you don't see, right? But you keep the same science
Yeah.
behind entrepreneurship, you buying and you selling, and that's something that we have to get over is being okay with trying things we don't see. And that's what's hard in our community. That's why we all do the same thing,
Yeah.
right? That's why everybody say, "Oh, y'all, all black people do is the same thing,"
Yeah.
because a lot of times we do,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, and then when a man starts to separate himself and become an individual, then he branches off, right? He gets into a lane that nobody's in, right? Which is what I've done several times. It puts him in a different light, and now he's getting different attention and different energy, and he's becoming more successful because now what he's selling, nobody else is. And that's
Exactly.
what's important about entrepreneurship.
And speaking on before, we talked about 3 principles that represent, your brand and who you are, and we
Right.
want to go over that because those are important. Because a lot of people in this day and age don't understand that principles in business and
Yeah.
values and morals and work ethic is important. So we want to talk about those things.
I always say I think individuality is extremely important, and the main reason why it's important because again, you have to be able to find ways to separate yourself. Everybody is trying to always do the same things, and so if you don't find a way to be unique, a way to bring something to the marketplace that isn't already in it, or expand on something that's there and make it better, then you're gonna have a hard time, getting the results and the success that you want.
Yeah.
Most everybody's just saying, "Hey, I'm doing what everybody else is doing because they're successful, and I just want to be successful."
Yeah.
But you got to have a certain level of individuality because everybody that comes doesn't stay. You got to have a certain there's got to be a strong sense of authenticity, right? Because you can't be an individual unless you know who you are and you're able
Facts.
to express that individuality through whatever it is you create. So I think it's huge that entrepreneurs know exactly who they are because when you do, you know what you need to bring to the table. And like I always say, if it's truly you, then nobody else can bring it but you. And that's
Yeah.
where you separate yourself, and also, I think spirituality is a huge key, right? Because you have to have faith in something you can't see. This is what entrepreneurship actually is. It's about being able to trust something that's guiding you to a better space that you can't actually see. If we trust ourselves, then we don't do anything because
Yeah.
we can't see it far enough to know what's going to happen and what's not. And so most people say, "Hey, if I can't see it, it don't exist."
Yeah.
Right? But the truth is, I think successful entrepreneurs, they have a force that guides them through spaces they can't see in, and they trust it strong enough to where whatever it takes them, they're okay with that.
Yeah.
And I noticed that those are the people who move mountains and transcend, patterns in community and society because they're always ahead of the game because something else is guiding them while everybody else being guided by their own fears and lack of passion.
So, do you feel that a lot of people are not successful because of their lack of faith?
I think the lack of spirituality is a huge key because if we're human beings, right, we're flawed human beings, and we naturally are fearful, we naturally are nervous, we naturally have anxiety about everything that we do that we're unfamiliar with. Right.
Facts, yeah.
This is why your mama said, "Oh, I ain't seen that before. I'm not gonna try that." You know what I mean? We just train to not try things that we've never experienced, and that's not a good idea when you're an entrepreneur, right? And so you have to have some level of spirituality that's guiding you through things that you're not familiar with so that you can continue to keep the faith and keep pushing even when you don't know where you're going. That's why I don't know many self-made entrepreneurs that can do it without having a strong sense of guidance is what that is.
So, a lot of people might want to know, where did the name Stacking Kicks derive from?
Stacking Kicks is more of a creative spin-off of just the idea of stacking chips, like stacking, like in a casino, somebody winning, you got stacking chips. And basically, I think the science is that if you have a lot of something, especially like sneakers, most people in their right mind is gonna stack them up. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
for
Like if
sure.
you're looking at MTV Cribs or a lot of the celebrity houses, most of their shoes are all stacked up. Like stacking is a lifestyle. It's a very creative way to say I collect shoes. You know, and this is a a global culture. You know, and it 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 literally defines almost everybody that loves shoes as much as I do.
Yeah. So, what are the barriers of entry into the clothing business and just dealing with merchandise? Because you might have a young 15-year-old kid, boy or girl, that wants to start a brand but don't know left from right. But they got a logo, they can draw, they got an idea, they don't even know where to get a blank shirt come from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, what are the kind of like the the good and the bad about it, or how can one get going if they just had an idea? You know?
You know what, man? I started in 2010, and there was no resources. I had to break my neck to figure out how to start a brand. Now it's not that easy. I mean, not that difficult.
Yeah.
So if you don't know where to start now, that means you don't want to do it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there's way too many resources out there, way too many opportunities, way too much internet, way too much information on the highway that you can pull from. If you want to do it, you got to do the research. So when people come to me, I want to know what they've done so far before they need my advice. If they haven't done anything, I want to know why. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because you need to have more faith. You, especially at where I'm at in the game, I like to see people who already starting to take chances, be okay with taking some risk, becoming fearless. Because typically, when you go to a person that's already done it, you're trying to avoid the pitfalls. I like pitfalls. I think they build character, and I think they build strength, and I think they build longevity. So we should definitely support, and I like to share the mindset more than anything. You know what I mean? Because the mindset is what lets me know if you're able to handle the ups and downs of this culture, because it's very difficult. But the simple stuff like finding merchandise, finding clothes, manufacturers, that's nothing compared to what you need to know up here to even sustain yourself.
Does it take a college education to start a clothing line?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Because, you know, some people probably have the idea that I got to go to school for business. I have to do this. I got to do that.
Well, some people do, though. I mean, let's be real. They got there's fashion institutes in Seattle and Portland and probably everywhere else in the country. Some people like to do that. It depends on what your goal is. I'm just an entrepreneur, you know, that's from the streets, you know what I mean? So all I really know, I didn't even know you can go to school, or you had to, or hell, I didn't know I was going to be doing this anyway, right? You know what I mean? It's just... it was just, you know, the progression of me staying in alignment with my true self that led me to it. And either you take a bunch of chances and learn your formula along the way, or you go to school and educate yourself and to try to avoid some of the pitfalls. I think the pitfalls are important.
Speaking of kicks, though, what's your favorite shoe to date?
Today, oh man, now that I got older, man, I think I'm wearing ones more. Make them as flat as possible.
The ones go with everything, though, man. They go with a suit. You can wear it to a wedding. You can wear it anywhere you want to. Them ones.
Yeah, wedding, church, cookout, park, hoop, you know, sleep. But the main thing is that, bro, growing up, I used to, I was a huge fan of the Sixes. Like infrared Sixes was dope. I feel like everybody was a big fan of the threes. And I think the 11s is, which I got on now, ironically, is what people like a lot. But, you know, I'm old school now, man. I'm more about the business side of creating a culture for people who love sneakers, you know. Just give me a pair of ones, man, and let me walk through the mall, man.
So how has the support come from, you know, Portland, man? How they been rocking with Stacking Kicks, and how has, you know what I'm saying, the community as a whole came together and supported behind the brand and everything you did, no matter if you was in Beaverton, Hillsboro, Salem, man. How is the support behind Stacking Kicks in the community?
Man, I feel like I got a lot of support, bro. I feel like a big part of the community has been behind me. Again, they kind of grew up with the brand, I feel like, a little bit, because a lot of people saw me start this stuff way back then, and they feel a part of the journey, which I think is cool, because it feels more like a community brand sometimes than just like my brand, because of its relevance to the fashion culture in the urban area out here. However, again, we still in the Northwest. We still don't have a lot of black structure. We still got a lot of jealousy, a lot of hate, a lot of slander.
Sure, yeah.
It's been difficult. I've dealt with a lot to try to maintain my sanity and not internalize the lack of support or the disrespect, after all I've, given to the city and all the trends that I've set. And so a lot of people support me, but the truth is I don't think I get enough as support as I've given. I don't think a lot of love has come back as much as I've shown out, because you have to have the capacity for that. It ain't nobody's fault, but that's just the way it is. You got to be okay with that.
And to my understanding, you do a lot of giving back with mentorship, going into prisons and jails, helping out, philanthropy.
Right.
How has that affected you to make you want to even put that into other people's lives? Because that's an energy, that's a vibe, that's a want.
Yeah.
That's, empathy. That's being able to support, give back. A lot of people get greedy. They get, a taste of fame, or they get a taste of money, and they figure I don't need nobody. They get the Heisman Trophy stiff arm. They don't know you no more. Come buy all my stuff, but I don't want to support you guys. So how has that affected you to make you want to give back, mentor, and deal with less fortunate people,
Yeah, well, I think you said it, man, with the whole empathy thing, because I just come from the community. And so I understand some of the things that we deal with, and I don't ever want to turn my back because I dealt with the same things, right? And so ultimately what the difference is, it's a difference in value system. Overall, what do you value in life, right? And a lot of people just value materials. They value money, they value fame or popularity or the opposite sex or whatever. My values more line up with spirituality. They line up with peace, and they do line up with community. Like, I genuinely care about the state, the state of our mindset from where I come from, because that's what's propelled me, is unlearning, redefining, and redelivering my mindset and energy out into the universe to receive the benefits that I've gotten for separating myself mentally and spiritually. So there's a science behind being successful and being peaceful. And I feel like after my journey, I know exactly what the science is. And now it's my duty to continuously break down my life in modules and continue to spread them out so people can start to understand not how to be like me, not to build fashion, not to be an entrepreneur, but how do you build your individual mindset, and how do you express that out unapologetically to the universe so that you get everything that you want, put your life in alignment, and live it on your terms.
Yeah. Out the trunk or online, what you think is better?
Well, being old school, boy, I'm coming out the trunk, man. I'm still out the trunk. Like, they better know. I just like the trunk. I like the personal relationship. I like people. I like to talk. I like those exchanges. Like, I do it for more than just the buy and selling of the brand. I like the exchange, and my brand has become known to have powerful exchanges with people, whether they're buying or not. That's what it represents.
So guerrilla marketing is still effective.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up.
You've been doing a lot of fashion shows for the community. Right. You've been moving up and down I-5, and you got a nice following. So we want to talk about, you got 6 fashion shows in the books?
Under my belt, yep.
So we need to go from 1 to 6 and talk about how it all got started, the process, and what led you to doing 6 years in a row, or 6 years in total. And, and how that came about.
Again, we live in a slower city, I feel like. I can tell you that when I started my brand in 2010, we weren't having a lot of fashion shows. We really didn't have any brands here. I was really coming coming into like a pioneership mode, and I didn't really realize what I was doing. But again, I was trying to just separate myself and do something that was more me, and it just landed on fashion. But my early pop-up shops, most of them, I had to go to Dallas, had to go to Frisco, had to go to Seattle, had to go to, Atlanta, and, all these different spots around the country to try to, Vegas, to get some leverage. And when I built my name up a little bit, and started getting known in the city for having my own brand and started getting followers, I figured that I was going to do a fashion show. I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just do a fashion show. But my first thought was I was going to do it for me. right? I was like, ooh, I'm gonna do me a dope fashion show to invite everybody to come, watch me show some new stuff. And then because I'm a student of the universe, right, and I'm spiritual, the spirit stopped me in my tracks and said, no, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do a show for everybody that's in the industry, not just you. And I was like, okay, that way it'll be bigger, right? And then it'll be more love and more, okay, I can do that. I'm cool with that. And so that's when I started the first one. So the first one, I wasn't even supposed to be in it. I wasn't even thinking clearly, but I was thinking I was going to do a show for all the new brands. Main reason was so they didn't have to go through the things I went to get my first looks. I wanted them to have their first shows here in Portland, their first, networking, their first runway, their first pop-up shops, all the things that I would have had to go somewhere else to do. I wanted to give them a space to do it here. Yeah. So where it was like inexpensive, it was easy, and then it was around people that loved them,
So in a sense, you helped them take the elevator, not the stairs.
Essentially, yeah, absolutely. And then like I was supposed to do one, and then it went so well. Like the first one was magical, man. Again, people came in, and I was in 2015 in the summer, and people was like, man, I thought we was in New York or something the way I came here and looked at how this thing was set up. And so essentially we was like, okay, well, let's do another one. Like then we did another one, and then it's 3 and 4, and I think that's just the way that good energy, starts to manifest. You don't really know what you're going to do. You don't know how it's going to pan out. You don't know you're going to do more than one. There's artists that plan on dropping one album. It was so good. It's like now they only 10, 12 albums. Yeah. You don't get to control, the plans that the universe set up when they put you in alignment. You have to go with the flow if you really want to experience something great.
So being that it's a presidential election, I got a question for you, man. If whatever president-elect came to Portland, Oregon, walked in the Lloyd Center, came to Stacking Kicks and said, I'm making you responsible for laying out the plan to keep the black dollar in the community, give me a quick little answer on how you go about that.
I want to know what they plan on doing for the black community. Like where the dollar's going. I don't see, I don't see where we getting any of our needs met, by anybody other than ourselves, right? And I studied politics in college. That was my major, political science. And so, really understanding just the power structure of it all and what's really behind the scenes and who actually really has the power, and what their responsibility is once somebody is elected in the House, right? I have to focus on my community. You know what I'm saying? And if they want my help, they're going to have to take my ideas on what I want to do to push my community. It can't be their ideas. It's got to be mine. It got to be yours. Because I got things that I can think of.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. So what do you got working on right now? What are you pushing for in the future? I know we were talking about, trying to generate some type of network between I-5 North, I-5 South, Seattle to Portland, Portland to Seattle. Let's talk about some ideas or talk about some things that you got on your mind or that you got going on.
Yeah, I mean, overall, bro, and thank you for coming to my fashion show, by the way.
Appreciate you.
When I did my second show in 2016, I remember thinking that, man, how nice would it be to get Seattle involved in this, and make this a Northwest thing. And so ever since I spoke to you last week and a half ago, whenever that was, 2 weeks ago, I've been really telling my people, man, so we're going to do this. We're going to do this Northwest walk. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get it done, and we're going to make some waves, and we're going to start to connect. I always tell them, I say, hey, the Portland cats and the Seattle cats is in the streets. They don't always like each other, but the creative Seattle side and creative Portland, they love each other.
Yeah. The black business owners, So
we the ones that's gotta make the waves, and I think bring us together on a creative level. But I'm really excited about that. I've been thinking about it ever since, ever since we talked about it, and now that I finally got a connection up there, I think it's something that's not far from fruition. Honestly.
And I believe that if the rappers can't do it in Portland and Seattle, the business owners can do it.
Absolutely.
Showing and kind of creating, you know what I'm saying, something that they can visualize and they can see that's transparent versus, okay, we want to do this, but we never get around to it. Actually trying to formulate ideas and action plans that can, make it come to life, though, So what are some of the things that, the next generation needs to understand about just, moving correctly, thinking correctly? We're talking about mindset.
Right.
That what propel them to even want to start a business and to do right by themselves? Because I think a lot of people are focused more on the illegal, the street, and they don't get enough advice and words of wisdom, you know what I'm saying, from the entrepreneur community within the black diaspora, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I think one of the first things people got to understand is that, and I always tell my mentorship boys this, and anybody that's listening, we live in a world that's designed to destroy those who can't control their minds, and that's just the reality, of the space that we come from. So everybody that's out of alignment mentally and spiritually, they're going to suffer, and so what's the goal? The goal is to strengthen the mindset, and it's to become an individual, right? And entrepreneurship is, and we talking about peace, right? We talking about, black people, I guess maybe just the world in general. We talking about how do we get to a space of peace, right? We living in a world, we don't have a lot of time, we need to experience peace in a genuine way while we're here. How is that accomplished? That's accomplished by living a life on your terms. And the only way you can live on your terms is if you're finding ways to be authentic. And the only way to be authentic is to understand the individual characteristics of who you are, what's great about you, what's different about you, and package that up and consistently deliver that out to the world, through words and actions over a certain period of time to where it resonates and you can't be denied about what it is, who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. So that could be entrepreneurship, it could be anything, but it has to start with that base, because we need more peaceful people, and then we create stronger families, and then we create stronger collaborations and stronger institutions and better education and more masculine men and more feminine women, and we start to build productive family dynamics that change and unravel what's been happening to us, the last, 100 years or so, plus, and start to change the narrative of how we see ourselves, and that's the overall goal. And so that's what everybody needs to be thinking about: how to handle yourself, how to project yourself, who you are, and how to embrace, how to listen, how to support people, how to show love, and just how to exist amongst other people in a productive manner.
A couple more questions before we go. Seeing that the NAACP has nominated you for an award, and that's something good and beautiful, to be a part of that, because we know the history of the NAACP. So how does it feel to be just, acknowledged for your work, and not just it kind of like, because those are, big institutions that's looking at you, not just the average local person or, mom and pop organization. When you get national organizations that's got a spotlight on you, how important is that to you and what you do?
It's very important, man. It's confirmation that I'm doing the right thing with my life. Never expected this to happen. Never was the plan to get awarded. The plan was to stay in alignment and continue to do the right things, right? But that's what happens when you start to put everything in sync with, again, who you are, your authenticity, your spirituality, and your projection of who you are as far as trying to solve problems in the world, and it's amazing, bro. I never guessed that would have happened, but I think after doing this for so long, I believe that people are starting to, respect and appreciate what I'm bringing to the table, and it's not easy to do because you have to continue to do the right thing over a long period of time. Everybody don't really, love you or respect you for doing the right thing, but the right people, people that's of power, this is what they're looking for, this is what they see, and this is why you always have to play the game like it's a scout in the crowd, whether you can see them or not. Just keep playing the game and keep working. Somebody's going to see you as long as you're consistent.
Being that this is the Game 365 podcast, it stands for growth, ambition, motivation, and excellence. I always ask this question, bro. What is your definition of game?
My definition of game is living, is existing right now. If you exist, you're in the game called life. If you want to master the game called life, you master yourself first, and you find out where you fit in the game, and you play consistent pieces and you make adjustments based on how other pieces are around you, and you continuously move around them in your own individual way, and you get to to the winner circle, you know what I'm saying, and you start to enjoy life. But you do it from a mental aspect. This game is about mentality. This game is about how you think and how well you process yourself and the world you live in, and how can you maneuver through it with truth.
Wow, that's good. Good, great answer. Let's give everybody where to find the merch at, your social media, anywhere that you got anything going on, so they can see future and present. You know what I'm saying? Merch, events, whatever you got going on.
Yep. On Instagram, I'm at Stacking Kicks. That's stacking with no G, kicks with a Z, no S on the end. Facebook, Stacking Kicks Clothing. Where else? I do a little TikTok, not a lot, I didn't got older, but TikTok is at Stacking Kicks as well. And more importantly, the website, www.stackingkicks.com, spelled the same way. And I'm all over Google. Google Stacking Kicks, you'll see me pop up. You'll probably maybe see some articles, a lot of news articles, a lot of interviews. We got a dope talk show, me and my bro Ken Jones, called Calculated Conversation, where we break down this science even deeper.
Shout out Ken.
And shout out Ken. And that's at Calculated Conversations, spelled just like it sounds. And that's where y'all can find me, man. And all the events I'm doing, things I'm a part of, things I'm working on, it'll all be in there for sure.
Stacking Kicks, Lloyd Center, Gang 365 podcast. We out.
Yep.